What's good, YouTube? It's your boy KingSupreme. Back in the video, we got Thomas Sowell. Facts about slavery never mentioned in school. Now, if you're new here, welcome to the channel, homies. Just be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you want to see more bangers from your boy. You feel me? Because the grind never stops. But today, we got some Thomas Sowell. First time getting to him on the channel. My bad if I'm mispronouncing that, but first time getting to him on the channel. But this was a very interesting video I saw suggested by y'all in the comments. But I really appreciate y'all first and foremost for all the dope, such cool suggestions and recommendations y'all been giving me in the comment section. Bro, I really appreciate y'all so much for that. Y'all making this part of my channel, this journey on my channel so cool, bro, because we've been getting into everything, bro. Sports, music, stuff like history stuff, comedy, so much stuff, bro, and it's all because y'all been really giving me so many more ideas, and I really appreciate that. So this one suggested, really interesting, bro. So facts about slavery never mentioned in school. So it's interesting, bro, because I always heard, like, you know what I'm saying, there was always stuff, different things, you know what I'm saying, because they did talk about when I went to school, I was in high school, stuff like that, like brief, you know what I'm saying, stuff about slavery, but nothing like too in-depth, you know what I'm saying. And me personally, I feel like, you can really learn more on the internet and on YouTube than you can in school, bro. You know what I'm saying? As like I'm about to probably learn a bunch of new stuff I didn't even know about. So let me know how y'all feel about what y'all learned about this in school, when y'all went to school and all that. Because this is a very interesting video. I'm really interested to see what this video is gonna be, like what he's gonna say, what other stuff I didn't know about, this, that, and the third. So we're gonna see Thomas Sowell. Let me know. I saw a few suggestions from him in the comments, so let me know if you guys want me to react to any more of him or any of his videos. So just let me know in the comments and I got y'all. Let's get straight into this one. Facts about slavery never mentioned in school.
The instrumental use of the history of slavery today also underlies the claim that slavery grew out of racism. For most of its long history, which includes most of the history of the human race, slavery was largely not the enslavement of racially different people, for the simple reason that only in recent centuries has either the technology or the wealth existed to go to another continent to get slaves and transport them en masse across an ocean. People were enslaved because they were vulnerable, not because of how they looked. The peoples of the Balkans were enslaved by fellow Europeans, as well as by the peoples of the Middle East, for at least...
People were enslaved because they were vulnerable, not by how they looked, bro. And he just made the claim, like, how I was saying, all the, traveling from, Africa to different countries, America, all this. He pretty much denied that claim because it wasn't possible at the time. Dang, hold up now. He said it was based on vulnerability, not racism or how you look. Yo, wait a second, man.
Enslaved because they were vulnerable, not because of how they looked. The peoples of the Balkans were enslaved by fellow Europeans, as well as by the peoples of the Middle East, for at least 6 centuries before the first African was brought to the Western Hemisphere. Before the modern era, by and large, Europeans enslaved other Europeans, Asians enslaved other Asians, Africans enslaved other Africans, and the indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere enslaved other indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere.
So they were enslaving their own kinds. Africans are the Africans, Asians are the Asians, indigenous people are the Europeans are the they were slaving their own, like they was for wasn't even just about, wow, that's so crazy. Have y'all heard about this before? Do y'all know about this, bro? Before? Because obviously they didn't talk about this in school. No, they didn't. No, I don't recall nothing like this in school. Their own kind. To get up, but that's so messed up. Just to enslave someone else, just to that. I'm dismayed.
Europeans enslaved other Europeans. Asians enslaved other Asians. Africans enslaved other Africans. and the indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere enslaved other indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere. Slavery was not based on race, much less on theories about race. Only relatively late in history did enslavement across racial lines occur on such a scale as to promote an ideology of racism that outlasted the institution of slavery itself. Wherever a separate people were enslaved, they were disdained or despised, whether they were different by country, religion, caste, race, or tribe. In East Africa, the Maasai were feared slave raiders, and other African tribes, either alone or in conjunction with Arabs, enslaved their more vulnerable neighbors.
That's messed
As late
up.
as 1891, it was reported that Manyuema slavers had demoralized surrounding tribes, destroying crops, and famine reigned everywhere. Even in the early 20th century, Abyssinians were still raiding other Africans and carrying off slaves. It was 1920.
Slaving their own neighbors for personal gain. How fucked up can you get? Your own neighbors for what? Rather than enslaving, why couldn't you guys just work together to help each other? The world, oh my gosh, it's so messed up. Like, instead of enslaving and forcing, why couldn't you just have a conversation with somebody and y'all can help each other out? Make it make sense. And I'm sorry, I'm just passionate about topics like this, bro, because it's like, if this is the truth, this is history, bro. And I just feel so bad when people take advantage of other people for different things. It's like, dang, bro, you're fucked up. I don't like that shit, dog. Hold up, man.
Even in the early 20th century, Abyssinians were still raiding other Africans and carrying off slaves. It was 1922 before the British had gained sufficient control in Tanganyika to stamp out slavery there. Arabs were the leading slave raiders in East Africa, ranging over an area larger than all of Europe.
Wow.
The total number of slaves exported from East Africa during the 19th century has been estimated to be at least 2 million. The form in which the story of slavery has reached most people today has been along the lines of the best-selling book and widely watched television miniseries Roots by Alex Haley. Challenged on the historical accuracy of Roots, Haley said, "I tried to give my people a myth to live by. This instrumental use of history, or purported history, is open to the same objections as other instrumental myth-making."
So the fun thing
I
with the
tried
serpent
to
is,
give
how does the serpent talk? And not only that, but why is the serpent's punished?
Despite the impression created by Roots
I tried to give a myth for my people to.
of the massive slave trade from West Africa, a white man was more likely to catch malaria in Africa than to catch slaves himself. The average life expectancy of a white man in the interior of sub-Saharan Africa at that time was less than 1 year. By and large, men from Europe or the Western Hemisphere came to the coasts of Africa, bought their slaves, and left as soon as possible. Even so, the death rates among the white crews of the ships carrying slaves to the Western Hemisphere were as high as the death rates among the slaves themselves. It was only much later, after quinine and other medical measures enabled Europeans to survive where there were tropical diseases, was it possible for them to invade Africa in force and establish empires there. But by then, the Atlantic slave trade had already been ended. During the era of that trade, Africa was largely ruled by Africans, who established the conditions under which slave sales took place. The crew of a slave ship was in no position to defy African rulers and their armies by going out across the land and capturing people willy-nilly.
Is he pretty much saying, bro, it was all the people of, because they like he just said, they couldn't have done it without the say or the go ahead from the people already of Africa. So the rulers of Africa who were already in place pretty much allowed it to happen, because nothing came through Africa or came out of Africa if it wasn't already, if someone didn't say it was okay. So we pretty much said the rule pretty much saying someone made it and saying it's a go, it's cool, y'all can do that or whatever, but I have to be, dang. I am dismayed. I am perplexed. I am befuddled. This is insane. Y'all hearing this? This is news to me. Let's continue, y'all.
Was in no position to defy African rulers and their armies by going out across the land and capturing people willy-nilly. The stronger African peoples captured and enslaved the weaker peoples. The same pattern found over the centuries in Europe, Asia, the Western
Strong
Hemisphere,
Africans
and
enslaved the
Polynesia.
weaker.
In Nyassa land, the Ngoni and Yao swaggered over and terrorized other tribes. In Uganda, the Baganda made life miserable for their neighbors. And the Nyoro and Hima of Anko enslaved Toro women and children.
Bro, I'm sorry for pausing so much, but this is so messed up. Like, why do people just feel the need to just? Why can't everyone just be ganged? Why does everyone? Oh, I gotta invade my neighbors because what? They're weaker than me. They just make no sense, bro. Why can't everyone just be peaceful? That's the world, bro. Oh my gosh.
The Tutsi dominated the Hutu in Rwanda. The Maasai lorded it over the Kikuyu and Kamba, and the latter, in turn, held the Indorobo in a kind of serfdom. It was precisely the fact that Europeans, except for the Portuguese, seldom participated in the raids that captured and enslaved Africans that enabled most people in Europe and the Americas to remain oblivious to the traumatic experience that this was, with some Africans committing suicide to avoid capture and wives being whipped as they tried to cling to their husbands or children. Historian David Breon Davis pointed out that Europeans had little contact with the actual process of enslavement, and that as late as 1721, the Royal African Company asked its agents to investigate the modes of enslavement in the interior. Europeans typically saw only the end results, enslaved people being offered for sale on the coast. It was much the same story in the Ottoman Empire.
Enslaved people being offered for sale on the coast. Pretty much they were, because the Europeans couldn't get like to the center of Africa to really like in Africa, so it was like they bought the slaves on the coast, but someone enabled them to buy the rulers of Africa. We enslaved our own people. From what he is saying. Let me know in the comments if I'm getting this right, if I'm making sense, bro. Let me know in the comments. Well, this is our topic. This is discussion. This is the topic that needs to be talked about, bro. You know what I'm saying? You see all this stuff on the media. Oh, this celebrity, this, that, and the third. Cool, whatever. But this the deep level stuff we need to be talking about, y'all. This is the facts. Can someone confirm that all this is correct?
Where those who bought slaves had no idea what these slaves had been through before. The unique position of the Western world in the history, and especially the destruction of slavery, need not imply that there was unanimity within the West on this institution. In addition to whites who defended the enslavement of Africans on racial grounds, or who opposed general emancipation on social grounds, there were many whites, and even blacks, who defended slavery as a matter of self-interest as slave owners. Although most black owners of slaves in the United States were only nominal owners of members of their own families, there were thousands of other blacks in the antebellum South who were commercial slave owners, just like their white counterparts.
Thousands!
An estimated 1/3 of the free persons of color in New Orleans were slave owners, and thousands of these slave owners volunteered to fight for the Confederacy during the Civil War.
They volunteered to... But they volunteered to fight. They volunteered to fight for the Confederacy. They volunteered. Bro, he just said 1/3 of the were our slave owners, and most of them volunteered to fight for the Confederacy. This is crazy. This is shameful. Why it's not talked about, bro? We enslaved our own people. This is crazy.
Were slave owners, and thousands of these slave owners volunteered to fight for the Confederacy during the Civil War. Black slave owners were even more common in the Caribbean. In short, there were many defenders of slavery in the West, even in the 19th century. And outside the West, slavery was too widely accepted to require defense. no other nation ended slavery in the same way as the United States did, and few ended it after so short a struggle, as history is measured. How and why did slavery end in most of the world? There were two major processes. Over the centuries, as more and more territories around the world consolidated into nation-states with their own armies and navies, raiding those territories to capture and enslave the people who lived within them became more hazardous in itself, and also risked military retaliation against the countries from which the raiders came. Thus, more and more peoples became off-limits to slave raiders over time. Put differently, the areas which remained subject to slave raiding over the centuries were primarily those where the people lived in smaller or weaker societies. Such societies continued to exist where it was difficult, for geographic or other reasons, to consolidate large areas under one government. This was true of the Balkans, the backwaters of Asia, and much of sub-Saharan Africa. By the early modern era, sub-Saharan Africa, with its numerous and severe geographic handicaps, was one of the last remaining areas from which vast numbers of people could be enslaved.
Sub-Saharan Africa was, dang. My mind just got, oh my gosh. And I'm not trying to overact nothing. I'm just passionate about history, about the news, about my people, about the entire world. And this is crazy. Are you kidding me? Can someone confirm in the comments if all of this was correct, bro? But the way he was saying it, the way it sounds right. But why didn't they teach us this in school? Why didn't they teach us this in school? Why not? Why? They don't want us to know the truth, bruh. Let me know how y'all felt the first time y'all saw this video, bro. Let me know if y'all mind was fucked more than me. Let me know if y'all. It's so like, it's such a wild thing and such a, like a sad, so sad as well. I'm like, wow, like, is this seriously happen? And it's sad, like, dang. We enslaved our own people for personal gain and benefit. That's messed up. That's the video. Hope y'all enjoyed it, bro. This is the facts, the history that we need to understand and know, bro. And I'm so glad I got the suggestion from y'all, because I would have had no idea about this video. No idea. Y'all the ones that keep flooding me with these suggestions. Y'all the ones, so I just can't thank y'all enough, bro. But that's the video. Whew. Let me know more videos in the comments, bro. We need to see more about our history. This is the real deal history. Let me know in the comments more. Thank y'all for the suggestion. Y'all know it's road to 50K, so the grind doesn't stop. Turn on those post notifications because these videos will continuously be posted, bro. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. Like, comment, subscribe, share if you need to see more videos. It's your boy, KingSupreme. Catch y'all next time, homies.